Mahomes back, throws. It is incomplete, picked off by the Lions. Brian Branch with it left side. He's gone, baby. He's going to the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Deflected in the air. Branch ran under it, and he took it all the way back.
Welcome to the Twentyman and Huddle podcast presented by Microsoft. And it is a Sunday, PJ Clark, where the Lions probably want to forget about this one. I think this is a good week, PJ, where you have a Saturday game and you have one less day to think about this one. You're turning your focus on a Monday right to Denver at home because, look, the Lions go on the road. They lose to Chicago 28-13. And really, it was a performance they'd probably like to forget.
Yeah, I think that's a good point by you on the Saturday game. I think everybody's gonna be ready to turn the page to a team that is right in the thick of things in the AFC playoffs. Another team that you're going to get their best shot, and Chicago definitely threw a few good punches today that the Lions took.
Yeah, and I think just a couple quick takeaways from the game in Chicago. Obviously the defense struggled a little bit early on. Justin Fields kind of got away from them a little bit, but really when I look at this game, I put this one on the offense. And, I think, yeah, obviously you hate to give up 28 points, but I think a couple of those were on some short fields. The offense turned it over 3 times. And then really when you look at the possession chart in the second half for the Detroit Lions, 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt, 3-and-out punt, fumble, turnover on downs, interception. This was the number 2 offense in the league coming in, averaging 400 yards per game, one of only 2 teams doing that. And they have 267 yards of offense and really got nothing going in the second half. To me, this was a game you needed your offense to come in and play well, score some points. It was going to be a high scoring game. And, for one of the few times this year, Detroit's offense kind of let them down.
Yeah, it was definitely an offensive struggle. It just seemed like even at the end of the second quarter where things, you take the lead going into halftime and you think, all right, getting the ball back, what can you do? And it's an immediate 3-and-out. Again, we've talked about the third quarter a lot. Everybody has this year. It's been
skip the third quarter.
It's been a sustained.
What's going on?
It's a sustained problem at this point. And maybe you saw the last 2 weeks now that the team wins a toss and takes the ball, and the Bears have scored it twice now, taking the ball against the Lions to open the game. So I think that's something that the defense will have to keep an eye on as you move through the end of the season and into January. But I agree with you. I think the offense just kind of, especially in the second half, the drives kept on stalling, could not get, even that first down of a drive to even push it to a new set and kind of get creative, get an opportunity to open it up. It was a lot of run, pass, and, the Bears figured it out.
Is there a gameplay now that we're starting to see here for defenses the last couple weeks? And look, Amon-Ra St. Brown is starting to get a lot of attention. And you saw it with the Saints last week that they tried to take him away. And look, Sam Laporta stepped up 9 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown last week. But this week, look, they were able to kind of control, Laporta too. 6 targets, only 2 catches, 23 yards. And those are your guys in the pass game. And look, I credit Josh Reynolds for stepping up, had the touchdown, had the big completion of 27 yards. But if Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown aren't going to be your guys in the pass game, this offense, this passing game is going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I especially when you throw the ball 35 times. I mean, it was Jared's lowest completion percentage of the season by a wide margin. First time under 62% all year. I think it was 57.5 today. It just was not even connecting on the easy ones. And the Lions like to set up a lot. You saw a couple 3rd and 10 wide receiver screens in the first half. That's a play they run time and time again. And even those did not go the way they usually were, not able to break those for a first down. They resulted in 4th downs that they ended up having to go for. They converted, I believe, both of them, but those are usually layups for this team that just weren't falling today for whatever reason.
You just chalk this up as, hey, it's one of those games. It was cold. It was outdoors. It was at their place. They had obviously some extra motivation for what happened week 11 in Detroit and losing a game that they probably thought that they, gave away to Detroit, and they came out, motivated. But one thing, and Dan said this after the game, it was really mistakes that I think, really put the nail in the coffin for the Lions. Obviously the turnovers, 3 of them, you can't do that. But it was some of the undisciplined stuff, some of the stuff that we haven't seen a ton of with the pre-snap penalties and some of the other things. This is what Dan Campbell had to say about why he thought his team lost the game the way they did Sunday afternoon in Chicago.
Played hard, and they played an undisciplined game over there. And, we knew that was a good team. That's a talented team. They're playing good football, and we knew we had to play well, and we did not play well enough. So, that's credit to them. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is. I thought we played hard. I thought we did some really good things at times, but honestly, it was the discipline. I mean, the penalties cost us today, and that's really the story of the game. That's the story of the game.
So there it is, Peach. I mean, you look at some of the pre-snap stuff, and it's so hard against a defense. And look, Chicago's a better team than their record would indicate.
Absolutely.
Defensively, they're a much better team than they get credit for. And you just can't go on the road against a team and, 2 delay games, a false start that sets you up 1st and 15. Now you're playing behind the sticks. And even defensively, you look at the Aiden Hutchinson penalty on 4th and 13. I mean, that was a play where Justin Fields said after the game, they didn't even have a play called. I mean, they were just trying to get a free 5 yards to maybe kick a long field goal or do something like that. And uncharacteristically, Aiden Hutchinson jumps off side. And then all of a sudden your cues as an offense, you get a free play. And then, we see DJ Moore beat Jerry Jacobs again. We saw that week 11. And to me, that was the huge turning point in the game. And it was a lot of uncharacteristic pre-snap penalties and putting yourself behind the sticks. You can't do that in this league on the road, especially when you turn the ball over 3 times.
Yeah, 8 penalties matches the season high for the Lions. I mean, it even started early on that Bears first drive where Alex took the unnecessary roughness penalty, late hit. I mean, those are things that we haven't seen from the Lions this year to this point. And it all kind of came together today. I mean, we mentioned last week, the game opened with a false start penalty on the first play of the game and was able to bounce back and scored an 80-yard touchdown drive off of that. But just we're not able to overcome the pre-snap penalties today on both sides of the ball.
So how worried are you of this performance? Do you just kind of wipe it away? Like, look, we didn't come to play. The Bears were coming off a bye. They threw some things at the Lions they weren't prepared for. Dan Campbell talked about that 4th down at play, 4th and 1. They threw a look that they, didn't see. And it was a team that was motivated at home, trying to keep their season alive. Do you chalk it up to that? Or do you have some concerns now moving forward the last 4 weeks that there's some issues here, that maybe some underlying issues here that Detroit's really going to have to overcome this week with Denver, who's playing good football. Minnesota, obviously today with a crazy game there, a 3-0 that they benched their quarterback, had Mullins come in. Justin Jefferson left the game with an injury. You've got 2 against them. And then you look at what Dallas is doing to Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football. That's a juggernaut of an opponent. Are you concerned, or do you just chalk this up to just one of those weeks?
I think it was interesting post-game what Dan Campbell said about how you're breaking the self-scouting up into groups of 4, and you played the Bears twice now in this last 4-week span. And I think that needs to be accounted for, and you're going to have to do it with Minnesota too. But I think it's interesting that you're playing a division opponent twice in a month. They're coming off a bye on the road for the second game. A first game that was very close, came down to the last possession. Obviously the third quarter has been a recurring issue the entire year. That I think
8 points on the first drive of the second half for a top 5 offense. It's such an anomaly. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the third quarter is definitely an issue that should be figured out at some point. But, so sometimes you just got to chalk it up to Bears came out hot and threw a quick punch on the first drive of the game for the second straight time in this matchup, and Lions were not able to fire back as easily as they were last time. And this team plays better at home for sure and plays better indoors. And you're lucky that the next four games are indoors. So you don't have to deal with the weather and throw those variables into effect. You get to close out the regular season in controlled environments. And I think that is going to really help this team.
And this week, obviously, a big matchup with Sean Payton, obviously, Dan's mentor. That's going to be a big storyline this week. But Russell Wilson and that team, they're playing good ball right now.
They're one game out of the division.
Yeah,
Kansas City lost.
Kansas City lost. So, I mean, they've got a lot to play for. They're going to come here very motivated. I expect Ford Field to be rocking. I think this team feels it. We'll see what happens with Green Bay on Monday night in New York and kind of see where the Packers end up after Monday. But now this thing's getting tight. This is December football. I think Lions fans kind of hoped that you could win this one and maybe clinch a playoff spot. I think the positive, if you look at Sunday, obviously you hate the loss, but the fact that the Rams lost, the fact that Seattle lost, some of those teams that are in the wild card, I think that helped Detroit. Obviously not for the division, but just in terms of getting into the postseason. If something crazy were to happen and there was some kind of collapse, I don't think that's going to happen. But they were helped out a little bit by some of those teams that are fighting for the wild card. But this is a huge matchup this week, Peach. I mean, you've got to be able to bounce back. You're at home. You're fighting for a division. You're trying to do something for the first time in 30 years. That's been your goal all the way since OTAs when you started this thing. This was your goal. Win the division, get a home playoff game. Now things tight, and when things are tight, when you need a win, when you're at home, this is when you've got to play your good ball. And I think this is where we're going to see what this Detroit Lions team is made of.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting matchup. Just Denver, I mean, a team that obviously the Lions have not seen a lot of, that looks a lot different than even the last time the Lions played Denver a couple of years ago. Sean Payton, there's no shortage of narrative that I'm sure is going to be played out across national TV with Dan Campbell and Sean Payton for the next week. But that's a team with Courtland Sutton now healthy, a big bounce back year for him. We saw what DJ Moore has done to the Lions as a bona fide number one receiver. How can the Lions handle Courtland Sutton? Javonte Williams, another good running back that you're going to have to go up against. Russell Wilson, another quarterback with mobility. Good secondary over there. They've been playing really, really, really good defense as of late in Denver, but you're back in the friendly confines of Ford Field. And I think that's going to help. I think that's going to be a morale boost, and certainly no shortage of motivation, I would expect after today and getting back to it on a short week.
Hey, nothing's easy in the NFL, right? You've got to go earn it, and you've got to play good football. And they've talked now for the last couple of weeks about playing their best ball in December. They had a setback. They did not play their best ball. I think offensively, they probably played their worst game of the year. And I think it'll be really interesting this week to see how they bounce back, knowing they've got a home game, knowing they've got the environment. They still have a 2-game lead in the NFC North, and just a huge matchup. And I think this week will say a lot about Dan Campbell, this football team. I know me and you have talked, and I know Lions fans think this way maybe too. I know we've maybe chatted about it, just between me and you, that maybe they're a little ahead of the schedule that we thought they were going to be on. They're getting a lot of great contributions from this rookie class. But look, you're here. It's in front of you. And so now you've got to go win. There's an opportunity here. Maybe you're a little bit ahead, but go seize it, right? And go take it and turn this thing around, win a game at home. It's a huge matchup, and I think this will be a really, really fun week. We'll have a 20-minute podcast Twentyman and the Huddle podcast, excuse me, this week, breaking down everything Denver, and it should be a fun week. It's going to be a prime time NFL Network, Ford Field on a Saturday. Nobody's got to go to work the next day, so I think some people will be lubed up. It should be loud in there, and I think fans know that they've got to bounce back. It's right in front of them. The division is right there. I think this is going to be a real big week to go see something, and it should be a fun week.
Yeah, I don't know. For all of the hemming and hawing about playing Minnesota twice in the last 3 weeks, it means everything's right there. It's still in front of you because nothing gets done without those two games at this point. So it's definitely a big matchup, last AFC matchup of the year. Got to go take care of business and then move on to Minnesota where the real grit is going to need to come in.
Well, it should be a fun week. Let's get ready for the Denver Broncos. He is PJ Clark. I am Tim Twentyman. This is the post-game Twentyman and the Huddle podcast. We'll have another one for you, getting everything ready for Denver on Thursday.